Hey, this is Von Diesel, and today I'm just gonna throw a kind of a weird video at you. I didn't plan on doing this. I have no script in front of me. I'm literally just gonna talk a little bit, and I'm gonna jump right into it. What if the Division 3 is not an RPG? Just let that sink in a little bit. Think about it. Now, I can hear it now. But Bond, the Division 3 should be an RPG because the first two games were. Why are you talking this crazy talk? Well, friend, let me tell you why I'm talking that crazy talk. Because honestly, when I look at so many of the issues this game has, and not even the game, maybe just the community, I think to myself, I almost wonder if this game was just a realistic shooting game, would it have the same issues? I've said for a long time, ever since the first game came out, that I borderline think that they can't perfectly balance this game. I've said repeatedly in a very supportive and understanding way that I don't think it's possible to balance this game and satisfy everyone. Now, maybe you can't do that in any way, shape, or form, or any situation, or whatever, but what I'm saying is that what if the Division 3 was a slightly futuristic, open world, as realistic playing as the aesthetic, third-person cover-based shooter that had low time to kill, that had PvP that was realistic, in its damage models and stuff like that? What if the Division 3 was not an RPG? The reason I say this is because I think back to games like Future Soldier, Ghost Recon. If you've never played that game and you go back and play it today, I think most people would be like, holy crap, Red Storm absolutely brought so many of the mechanics of Future Soldier over to the Division. I would argue that the skill system, the movement, the aiming, gunplay, and especially the cover system is nearly identical, or at least very familiar. That is one of my favorite games ever. No, that's just me. I believe Mr. Matt Shacha would agree. I believe that's how he started making content, was on that game. But it just makes me wonder, like, what if we had a game like Future Soldier, and don't you dare give me any Wildlands bullcrap. That's Just Cause with Ghost Recon stamped on it. I've believed that since it was released, and you aren't going to change my mind. That game doesn't even count in my book, but you guys have done a great job on that game. I'm really impressed with how much stuff you've put out despite the reception of it. Great job. But it's not a Ghost Recon game. What I'm saying is, what if you combined the story building, the story, the potential lore, the potential for deep story in the Division that we haven't really ever gotten, with a realistic game? So what would we gain? We would gain the ability to really focus on a story, to not have to make a story out of a bunch of missions that you shove together with a few cutscenes in the middle. You could focus on a true single-player campaign. You could focus on balancing the game in a much simpler way, not having to worry about crit chance, crit damage, resistance. You would gain so much, I think. Now, what would you lose? Well, you would lose the uniqueness. The Division is unique in the sense that it's a realistic aesthetic looter shooter. You can't say that about Destiny. You can't say that about Warframe. You can't say that about Anthem. I can't think of another game you can say it about. And I think that is what's caused so many issues. You have someone like me who never played RPGs before. I played Fallout, but that's a very different RPG than this game is. I would argue that games like Madden, NCAA football, NCAA basketball way back in the day are actually RPGs in their own way. But if you haven't played those games, I'm not going to bother trying to explain it. But this is my first RPG, and it's because I was so curious about the aesthetic, about the story, about the setting of the Division, that I kind of learned to like the looter shooter idea. But then I think to myself, like, what would it be like if the Division 3 was a story-focused game that featured PvP? Absolutely. You still had to find guns and unlock them. That is a way that I'll give something like Wildlands credit. You could have a lot of the fun elements of discovery, exploration, but you could get rid of all the silliness of the RPG. Now, trust me, I fully recognize that a large number of people, maybe a majority of the player base, would bounce. They like the Division because it's a looter shooter. But how many people would you pick up? It would fill a really interesting void, especially if you could really focus on story. I can tell you from being at multiple events, being at E3 last year, going to the San Francisco event before the game released, and listening to Jillian Garrity talk, getting to talk to all the community managers, getting to talk to all kinds of people who have worked on this game. And they're passionate. They love the story. They love the lore of this game. But anyone who's played the game can tell that they're limited in what they can do story-wise. It's one of the greatest rips. I'm seeing people who are extremely loyal and love the game absolutely demolish the story of the second one. Even though I think they're kind of hypocrites. I think the first story was no deeper. I think they're just more connected to those characters, which is fine. But, I mean, I think both games are about the same storytelling-wise, and I love the story. I think it's really interesting. I think the lore is interesting, everything about it. But we're not trying to act like this is Red Dead Redemption 2, or Red Dead Redemption, or Mass Effect, or all kinds of games that have great stories. So what if it did? What if they ditched the RPG for Division 3? It's just an idea. Now, I fully recognize that this actually wouldn't solve a lot of issues. The PvP side of things, one of the things that people don't like is that the time to kill is so short. They don't like that you can't react. So making it a realistic game wouldn't help those people. But who's to say that any changes they're ever going to make in this game will make those people happy? I don't think they will. It's just it's a thing I've thought about ever since the first game came out, is what if this was just a realistic, gritty game? Because it kind of is already. It has the look, it has the feel, it has the weapons, it has the near future tech. It's got almost everything. But sometimes I kind of feel like the RPG is a square peg trying to get put into a round hole. And I don't fault anyone. I think they've done a great job, but I think they're trying to accomplish what may be an impossible job. I don't know. I think I would miss a lot of the elements. I think it's fun to make builds and stuff like that, but who's to say you couldn't still do something like that? Who's to say you couldn't still have gear set types of things, but it's not dependent on an RPG system necessarily. You need to go find all this gear so you can have certain abilities, but it doesn't have to be an RPG. On the way home, I was playing volleyball tonight, and this thought just came to my head, like, what if Division 3 was not an RPG? What if these awesome narrative people who make this beautiful world that is deep and full of exploration and interest, what if they're just allowed to go ham and give us just a true single-player experience that's completely story-focused? How amazing could that be? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think it's at least worth talking about. We're seeing almost the entire Ubisoft collection now turn into an RPG of some type. Assassin's Creed is an RPG now. Heavens, they made Far Cry an RPG. I wouldn't be surprised if Ghost Recon, the next one's an RPG. You know, maybe we don't need another one. Maybe we need one less. Maybe that could be Division 3. I know it's way too early to be talking about this already. We've got so much. We don't even have our first DLC yet. And I'm so excited to see what the Division 2 is going to bring. Story-wise, new game modes and gameplay-wise, gear sets, guns, mechanics, everything, fixes, balancing. I'm genuinely excited. I think it's going to end up being great. I think it's already a solid game, no matter what all the chitter chatter is on Twitter. But my last time, I'll say one more time, and I want you to answer, be it on Twitter, in the comments of this video, in my Discord. You can email me, yell at me. What if the Division 3 was not an RPG? What if it was just a third-person cover-based shooter? And that's what I'll leave you with. I really hope to hear from you. I think this could be a fun discussion. I really hope, this isn't supposed to be any hard feelings. I really love this game. That should be apparent to anyone who pays any attention to me. But I think it's an interesting discussion. Humor me. If you like the video, please subscribe, like the video, and definitely please comment down below. Von Diesel is the username on Twitch, where I stream multiple times a week, and where you can find me on Twitter. If you want more The Division 2 discussion and updates, check out my podcast, The Echo Cast, on iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and a bunch of other platforms, basically any that you can think of. I also have a Patreon. The link's down below. I appreciate the support if you're willing to give it. It's patreon.com/theechocast. That's all I have. So until next time.